Well, hello. My name is Ted Gardner, and I'm an interviewer for the Library of Congress Oral History Project, and we're interviewing this morning Lee Meyers. And Lee, we're just delighted to have you here and get your story and get you recorded for history. That's very, very important. Where were you born, Lee?
Where am I?
Where were you born?
I was born here in Cheviot, Ohio.
Oh, okay. And where did you go to school?
I went proudly to Elder High School and then to Xavier University.
Oh, excellent, excellent. What kind of a family did you have?
I was one of three. I had two older sisters and myself.
I see.
I was the baby of the family.
Right, right. And so you went through Elder High, graduated from Elder, the purple and all that sort of thing.
Oh, yes.
Seeing games in the pit and so forth.
Definitely.
All that
Season
good,
ticket holder.
all that good stuff. Yeah, right. How old were you? Well, of course, you were 18 when you graduated from high school.
Yes, sir.
And then did you go right straight into?
Well, it took about 6 months, I guess, that before they got me in.
I see.
It was in November that I was examined down here on 4th Street, and I was placed in the Army only at my choice because I thought, well, if I get 3 weeks vacation like they said they gave before you reported, I'd be home for Christmas possibly. So that's why I took the Army.
I see. Okay, well then, after being inducted into the Army, where did they send you?
I was inducted at Fort Thomas, of course, and then we went to Camp Gordon Johnson, Florida, which is about 50 miles west of Tallahassee on the panhandle of Florida.
Okay.
And it was right near Panama City in that area, Apalachicola.
Oh yes.
Through there.
Oh yes. Yes. Well, that was a interesting introduction into a different part of the country for you.
Sure was. And in fact, when the train stopped, we all thought we were overseas already because of all the jungles and the sand.
The tropics.
Yes, we were there for amphibious training.
Oh, I see.
And it was right at the top of the Gulf.
Okay.
And well, we went through the whole thing there, basic training and everything else.
So you, in your basic training, tell us about that. You learned to storm the beach, so forth. And
oh yeah, and then well, we had the basic infantry training actually. We had an infiltration course where machine gun fired over our head about 18 inches.
Right.
And I was a little worried about that because they were talking about coral snakes around that area. And I'm not a snake lover. So we got through that all right. And then we had the rest of the marching and learning your left and right and all that.
Yes.
And
close order drill and all that sort of thing.
And we had our 15 and 20 mile hikes and all that.
Right.
And it was funny. We'd go out in the morning and cold as could be, and raining and all that. By noon, it was so hot you couldn't hardly stand it.
What kind of arms did you handle?
Well, we had an M1,
The Garand.
and then from that, they after basic training, we got a carbine, and that's what we used mostly that's what we carried all during the war.
Right, right.
So.
And you had to learn to tear that thing down and
Oh yeah,
put it back
blindfolded. Yes.
Yeah, right. How about the discipline? How did you handle that?
Oh, all right. There was no problem. The sergeants were, kind of down to earth. They all came from the New England area.
Oh, they did.
The cadre of our battalion was formed at Fort Devens, Massachusetts.
Oh, yes.
And then to Camp Edwards, Mass, and then on down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a replacement, being only 18 years old. Why
Sure.
they put me in there.
Sure. So this was 1944.
It was late 43, and it was December 20th is actually when I went in 43.
I see.
And then it was early 44.
Right. Right. Well, how long were you there?
We were there until about May, and we had orders to go to the West Coast, and we took a train there, which took about a week.
Yeah.
And it was a very interesting ride, you know, and to the mountains of the West and all that. It was,
You saw the.
yeah.
You saw another part of the country you hadn't seen.
I'd never
before.
been in, no. Before I went in service, I was in Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio, period.
The tri-state area.
Yes.
Well, I too remember the train travel, and it was very much of a pleasure in most ways. You met a lot of people
Oh, yeah.
in your outfit and on the train and so forth.
That's right.
Where did you go to California?
Camp Stoneman. It's I think it's about 50 miles from San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
And we only stayed there. It was a port of embarkation. And it was on the Antioch River, I think it was. And then when we went overseas then, we had to take the Delta Queen or the Delta King.
How about
And go down the river and through San Francisco Bay, past Alcatraz, and
Right.
into the harbor at San
Sure.
Francisco.
And what was it, a large transport or what
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
it
ship?
was a huge. It was the name liner of the Matson lines.
Oh,
It was the Matsonia is
oh
the
yes.
name of it, and they had about 3 of them, as I was told.
Right.
The Lurleen, the Matsonia, and the Monterey.
Right. They were
And-
beautiful ships, too.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
And they kind of converted it when we went over there.
Oh, sure.
Where they had 2 people, they had 22.
Oh, but
And we had the Prime Minister of Australia, John Curtin, rode over on the ship with us.
Oh.
And it was a little scary because only one day out of San Francisco, the Tokyo Rose came on the radio and said, "We'd like to welcome Prime Minister Curtin and the 4th Engineer Special Brigade to the Pacific. Hope you make it."
oh my God.
And that kind of,
Yeah. Yeah, that was spooky. I remember
Yes, it
hearing.
was.
Well, so you were heading for what, New Guinea?
yes, sir. We stopped at Brisbane, Australia, and that's where Curtin got off.
Uh-huh.
And then we went on to Oro Bay, New Guinea, which is right, Boona and Oro Bay and all right
Gona,
together.
Yeah. Well, there again, a weird, strange part of the world for you.
Oh, it sure was. We got off the ship and we set up camp there. And as soon as I could, I thought, well, I'll just walk around, you know. And I happened to hit a tree, and green ants came down and went down my shirt.
Oh my gosh.
And they could bite, I'll tell you. So I learned. I walked around with my shirt buttoned after
I'll
that.
say, welcome to the jungle, huh?
Right.
Oh my gosh. Well, what kind of chow did you have, and food and so forth?
Well, we were fortunate in that respect. Our mess sergeant had been a short order cook at the Hotel Pennsylvania in New York.
Oh.
And he could work miracles even with spam. And we would go out fishing there. Well, we was just laying back there.
Sure.
And we caught quite a few fish, and he'd prepare it different ways.
Oh, boy.
And it wasn't too bad. The one thing I didn't care for was that bully beef and goat meat we used to have to get once in a while.
Yeah, that. I remember that stuff coming out of New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, so there you were, and you had this base in New Guinea near Buna, as you say. What was your project? What were you supposed to do?
Just laying in wait there, because
Okay.
we weren't there too long. And from there we went over to New Britain, Cape Gloucester,
Yep.
and it was taken by that time by the American forces on our end of the island, Cape Gloucester. On the other end, they never did take it. Rabaul was the other end.
Right.
And planes would go over every day bombing Rabaul.
Yes.
But we never bothered to take it. It wasn't a strategic point.
Right. We kind of cut it off. hadn't we?
Yes.
But that was a great harbor, as I remember, Rabaul.
Oh, yeah.
Did
yeah.
you see the harbor itself?
No.
Never
no.
got there. Right.
Not on a Rabaul end.
Yeah.
Cape Gloucester was.
Yeah. Now, at that time, tell us about the enemy. What kind of contact or what kind of?
Well, we had very little contact with the enemy there, but our main job was to get ready for the invasion of the Philippines.
Oh, I see.
And we had the 40th Infantry Division with us. And we would take our landing craft, of which I was a coxswain of a 50-foot LCM, landing
an
craft
LCM.
mechanized, and we would take several deckhands from the infantry and go out and unload ships. And as soon as we found something decent, well, we'd put that in the engine room.
Sure.
A midnight requisition.
As I should say. Yeah, that was a lot of what we call Yankee ingenuity.
We had some good cooks in our outfit.
Oh boy, you were lucky. You were very, very lucky. Did you have experience any discomfort there in the?
Bugs is the only thing. We had
Bugs.
mosquitoes and all that, and
Right.
it was hot. I mean, very hot. It was like 110, 120.
Steamy.
And yes, and but it seemed to, get used to it after
Oh,
you're
sure.
there for a while.
Yeah, I should say. Yeah, you adapt to things like that,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
you? Right.
yeah.
Well, how about your buddies now? Tell me about some of your experiences with your buddies in your outfit.
Well, most of them were from New England, as I said, and they were expert mechanics in the way of. We was in a boat maintenance company. That's
I
where I started, and we had good welders and all that. If they get a hole in the side of a M boat, well, we'd weld it up and all that. But we were on the. There was only two deck hands, like not deck hands, but two, not squadrons or whatever, but two of us had handled the operation of the landing craft. And one was, Virgil Strickland and I were together, and then I don't know who the other guys were on the other end, but we stayed there and had, it was interesting. We had bulldozers and all that in order to, when we'd come in with an M boat and happen to broach it because of wind or current or something, why, we'd have to be pushed off by a bulldozer.
Oh,
But they came in handy because
sure.
we used those to hit the coconut trees and, and got coconut that way.
Shake the trees down, huh?
Yes. But that was it. And then we were there for just a month or two, and then we wound up headed for Luzon in the Philippines. And we made stops at Hollandia, New Guinea, and then went on up and hit a small convoy. And when we got up to the Philippines, we went into the Lady Gulf while Lady was still not taken yet.
Right,
And there was a lot of firing off our ship into the enemy. And from there we went on through, and it was interesting. We got on through and got on the China seaside, and they had just used napalm on Mindoro, the island of Mindoro. And that whole island looked like it was beautiful. It looked like it was on fire.
It's scorched.
It's,
Wow.
yeah.
What kind of armament did you have on the LCM? What kind of gunnery did you have on the LCM?
Engines?
Gunnery, guns.
Oh, just twin 50s.
Twin 50s.
Twin 50s is all we had. Yeah, yeah.
Well, now, in your position as a coxswain, did you have to be a mechanic?
Well, you had to know something about it. I mean, I didn't do too much of it, that's for sure. It was all diesel engines at that time. We had Gray Marine engines and Buda, B-U-D-A, and that was pretty much
Good.
handled by the guys that are experts at it.
Sure, right, exactly. Well, this is interesting to me because this is all Army.
This is Army.
This is all Army.
Yes.
Yeah. The LCM itself, did it have sleeping quarters on it?
Oh, no, it's only 50 foot. And it had three engines, and or two engines, I'm sorry, three on a PT. And when we got, well, I'm getting the horse before the cart, but it was just, wide open, hit a tank
Right,
deck, as we
yeah.
called it, and that's it, no sleeping quarters.
Right. How many men could it carry?
How many troops?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I ever had more than 50 on there.
Right.
And that's when they got, full field packs and all
Sure,
that.
sure.
It's pretty big.
Sure. Well, tell us about some of your experiences with that, operating that machine and getting them to where they're supposed to go.
Well, we landed in Luzon. I have a map. I don't know if you're interested in those.
Sure.
Or not.
Well, Dennis will like to see that.
And we landed in. Let's see. I can tell you by reference more than anything else.
Oh, this is great. You've got some photographs and so forth.
Yeah, this is.
That's wonderful.
We landed at Dagupan, D-A-G-U-P-A-N, which was Blue Beach on
Okay.
in the invasion. We got in there D+1, and we were only there. Right there is Dagupan,
Oh, yes.
and then we were there just a short time, and I got put on temporary assignment with the 28th and 36th Motor Torpedo Squadrons, which are PT boats.
Sure.
And the purpose being that the PTs could go around the top end of the island, and the Japs were supposed to be reinforcing or evacuating. And they couldn't make it all the way over and back without refueling. So they got the bright idea to put a 1,000-gallon tank on an LCM and tow it up into an area that was controlled by guerrillas. Now, guerrillas are freedom fighters as they know them today, and quite a group of good people.
Right.
And
These are Filipinos.
yes,
Right.
so we were on this assignment, or put on this assignment, and going across the Lingayen Gulf to meet the LCI that towed us up there. Why, we had a PBY. It wasn't PBM or PBY that was taken off in Lingayen Gulf. And I could see it to my starboard side. I guess it was a mile away. And I didn't pay too much attention. I just kept going straight ahead, you know, to meet this LCI. And I kept looking, and boy, he just didn't get off the water. It was a smooth water, and that's the worst thing for them.
Yes.
They need rough water to kick
Give
them
them
up.
some lift.
And I was in this little, we're a cubicle where we operated this landing craft, and I had to duck, literally, to keep from getting hit on the head with one of his
When he
slides.
went right over you.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And I hit my lip on the compass, and it split my face open.
Oh, my God.
It was better than getting hit by the bombs going over me, though.
Well, that's true. It's sort of like friendly fire, huh?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, my God.
So,
Well, that's an unusual experience
yes,
right
it
there.
was. And then we met up with this LCI, and it was at night, of course. And they towed us up to a place called Vegan, or near Vegan. It was 75 miles above Lingayen Gulf, and actually we were in Japanese territory.
Right.
And we met up with this group of, here they are, a group, and we stayed with them.
Oh, I
And
see. Can you get this? You want to get this? Go ahead.
we stayed with that group, and we would just kind of wait for the PTs to come in to refuel.
Mm-hmm.
So we just brought it into the beach like this during the day, and at night, due to camouflage and so on, we'd anchor out about 100 yards and then bring it in at daybreak or shortly after daybreak.
Well,
And-
that is, boy, oh boy. Yeah, freedom guerrillas who control the area and landing.
The reason they're marked this way is that I belong to the Military Order of the Purple Heart,
Right,
and we get calls to talk to children about
yes.
and I made this up so they could see exactly what it was. That was the M boat we had.
Right. Now, an LCI, landing craft infantry.
Infantry, that was much bigger than ours.
Much bigger.
Oh, yes.
And so it would tow you.
They towed us up 75 miles and then cut off, and they went back,
I see.
and they left us up there.
Sure,
So-
sure. Well, now, working with the PT boats of the Navy, that must have been pretty interesting, huh?
Oh, yeah, well, all the naval officers that were in charge of our detail were part of the PT squadron.
Right.
And we stayed with these Filipino people who I felt like I was leaving my second home when I left up there.
Really? Oh, gosh.
They were really nice and
Yeah.
very, very brave people.
Exactly.
They would do things that were unbelievable, really.
Well, they had been subjected to so much bad treatment
Oh, yeah.
by the enemy, of course, and so forth, and determined to get their own country back again.
Yeah, right, right.
That was important.
And it was interesting because some of the food that they served there were quite a bit different, you know. And
Oh, sure.
it's,
Lots of rice.
it's a lot of rice and a lot of seafood of different kinds, you know. And one day we were sitting at the table eating, and I said, "What is that?" And they said, "Squid."
Oh,
and I
boy.
said, "Oh, thank you." And this fella that actually was with me when I got hit, when he got hit also, and he came in late. He was down on the boat, and he says, "What is that, Lee?" And I says, "Oh, that's good. Eat it, Strick." So he started eating it. He said, "Oh, that ain't bad." And I says, that's baby octopus. And he turned green. I think my loudspeaker went off there.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Now, you're talking about being hit. Tell us about that.
Well, as I said, during the day we would bring the LCM in on the beach. At night we'd take it about 100 yards out and anchor, and 2 guys would sleep on it.
Stay aboard.
Well, this one morning at daybreak, this one other fella and I, 2 of us were on it. We're out there sleeping, and next thing you know, we hear machine gun fire.
Wow.
And there were 2 planes that caught us in there. And they start opening fire on us, and we had this 1,000-gallon tank above us. So I knew that was, a good protection.
Right.
While they made the pass that they made. And I guess there was enough room for me to be hit, but I didn't realize it at the time. And as they made a couple of passes, why, I said, I'm going to bail out and swim in. Same thing the other guy did. And we got about part way, and some of the Filipinos came out to help us. But they made about, I guess, 3 or 4 passes. The planes did. There was 2 planes, and they kept firing at us, and finally sunk the LCM,
Well, be done.
which is quite it takes quite a bit of firepower to do that.
I should say so.
And when I got into the beach, before I got to the beach, these Filipinos came out and with one of these contraptions they called a boat, and wanted me to get in, and I was about to get in, and they made another pass, and I submerged that.
Oh.
But then, when I got to the beach, I got up, I walked about 3 steps, fell down, and I thought, what's the matter here? Walked about 3 more steps and fell down, and they said, stay there, Lee, you're hit. So my leg got it pretty good. I had a broken leg and all that. And it was so, everything's going, you get up and you run regardless.
Sure.
But
The excitement and everything, and
yeah, right. And
you didn't realize how badly hit you were.
no, I didn't at the time.
Wow.
And as luck may have it, we had a Filipino nurse that was up there with these guerrillas, and she was tending to me as good as she could.
Sure, first aid.
But then the naval lieutenant that was in charge of our detail radioed back to Lingayen Gulf that 2 of us had been hit, and to send somebody up to bring us back to Lingayen. So they sent 2 PT boats along with 2 planes as air cover for them. And when they got to our stop, the one plane come down to buzz the water, because at this time there were a lot of those Q boats. These goofy Japs would load up a boat with explosives, and just like today over in the war over there, why they'd come out and they called them Q boats, and they would ram the side. You probably had some experience with
Yeah,
that.
well, I'd heard about them.
Yeah, and that. So in order to prevent that, these planes would buzz the water. And as this one went down, and I'll never forget his name. His name was Meeks. He was an officer in the Air Force, or in the Navy Air Force. Went down and hit the water, and that was the end of him. All they brought up was the leather helmet that had the name Meeks, M-E-E-K-S in it.
Wow.
And that kind of made me feel bad, because I was the one basically that they came up for, because Strickland only had shoulder wounds, and they could patch him up there, but they put us both on a PT then, and brought us back down to Lingayen. And that was quite a ride. It was interesting. This one sailor came over to me as I was laying. They had me in one of these wire.
Oh, there it goes again. Well, was there a lot of damage to the LCM?
Oh yes, it sunk it. And
It sunk it.
to do that on an LCM, being flat bottom and open deck, well,
That took a lot to
it
sink
took a lot of.
Sure.
As I said, the lieutenant on shore, the Navy lieutenant, estimated they fired over 2,000 rounds at us, and that's.
Well, you were lucky that you were a pretty good swimmer, right?
Yeah, when you have to, you do.
I should say. Was it warm water?
Oh yeah, in the Philippines there it was.
Sure.
Yeah, it's at the entrance to the China Sea,
Right.
and it was warm. Yeah.
Right. Right.
And frankly, to give you an honest answer, I don't even remember. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to get off that thing.
I know. Well, you were very, very resourceful and lucky at the same time.
It was funny when they got us on these PTs. As I said, we were in one of these wire litters that, were kind of form
Sure, to
fit.
brace your. Yeah.
And we were strapped in, and this one sailor came over and he said, "Hey, dog face," which is
Sure.
that was the term that the Navy
Oh
used.
yeah.
And he says, "Do you ever get seasick?" And I said, "Not yet." And with that, we got underway, and he goes over to the side and throws up.
Oh my God.
And I said, what's the matter with that guy? He just asked me they said he's a chronic. He said, every trip out, he does it once and he's finished.
Uh-huh.
And he said, but he won't transfer off.
I'll be there. Yeah. Yeah, I can remember that sort of thing. We had people that were chronic,
Oh, yeah.
susceptible to seasickness, motion sickness. Well, now, then they put you aboard a PT boat
Yeah, and they
and took you
brought us back to Lingayen Gulf, and we went to the PT's mothership,
Oh, yeah.
the Wachaprague, and that's where I was operated on by a Navy surgeon. And there it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful ship. Look at that. Big, 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 big ship. And lots of supplies, and
that's a PT there.
that's the PT there. Yeah.
And that's what are tied to the side of the Wachaprague. Wachaprague was the name of the
Okay.
ship.
And there's the PT. What a powerful boat that was.
Yes, it was.
Very, very exciting kind of a naval craft. Speedy and strong and made a lot of noise, and
It was neat to ride on.
boy, I'll say. Well, now, so did they have to set your leg? Was it a fracture?
Oh yeah, they tried to operate on me with a local anesthetic,
Yeah.
and they would hit a nerve and up my leg would fly,
Oh, of course.
and it wasn't. It was just a response,
Sure, just a
And finally, they said we're going to have to put him out, so they did. And the next day, I woke up and I had a cast from here down to my, into my foot.
Right.
And it stayed that way for quite a while. But I was only on the Wachaprague for about 5 days, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then they transferred me to a PT, not a PT, LST.
LST.
The
Big-
tank deck was all patients. It was a waiting ship, actually. They were waiting for a hospital ship. And then eventually the hospital ship Hope came. And that's where they put us on that. And we went out, I guess, out through Lingayen Gulf, out into the China Sea, downward, or down toward Mindanao.
Mm-hmm.
And as we passed, when we passed the entrance to Manila Bay, I can't even think of the name of it.
Corregidor?
Sir?
Corregidor?
No, right again, I can refer to the, geez, I know it like I know my name. And Corregidor.
Yeah.
That's what he just said.
Oh, well, that's my.
Oh, I see.
Here.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were just passing there, and at night, and we get the sound of a suicide bomber
Oh, boy.
coming, or a
Kamikaze.
fighter coming, Japanese, you
Yeah.
know, a kamikaze.
Kamikaze, yeah.
And we heard that thing in its dive, and apparently it decided at the last minute to let us go, you know,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't follow through on it.
I'll be darned.
But you talk about a nervous wreck. There were
Oh.
about 300 of us on that thing
Oh.
that were just scared to
Oh,
death.
that would have been such a terrible tragedy. Well, you were very lucky there too. Well, now, how about your friend Strickland?
Strickland never came with us. He was treated and went back to duty.
I see.
He got it in the shoulder,
Uh-huh.
and no broken bones or anything. And
that's
he only was, I think he said after, I met him after the war, of course, and I think it was only 2 or 3 days in a sick bay.
I see.
And then they sent him back to duty.
Have you kept in touch with him?
Oh, yes. Well, he's gone now.
Oh, he's gone. Yeah.
Lee, what about John? What about John?
Well, John Barr is another one, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about John.
He
Was he from here too?
was with us, yeah. There's an LCM.
That's the LCM, yep. .50 caliber machine gun.
Trying to. There it is. That's John Bowers, and I went to see him. He lives in North Carolina? Asheville, yeah,
Asheville,
Asheville.
oh, West
And his
End.
wife, that's the insignia for our company, for our battalion.
Oh, yes, sure.
And
Yes, I've seen that before.
she made that. And
Beautiful.
it was quite a work of art, really.
I should say so.
Oh, needle.
Yeah, with the anchor, you know, and the rifle. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a combined operation, they called it.
Right.
Land, sea, and air.
right.
And this was a seahorse, emblematic of the Army amphibious forces.
Absolutely. Well, that is really, after you were evacuated, you were put aboard the hospital ship Hope?
Yes, and we went down through the Philippines again, and then ultimately to Hollandia, New Guinea.
Right.
And we were put in the 51st General Hospital there, which was no more than a bunch of big tents, you know.
Right.
But they call it a general hospital.
Sure.
And it was kind of interesting there.
You were right out under the trees then.
Not really. We had, it was barracks type things.
I see.
And we had Connie Mack, you know, the old
Oh,
baseball
sure.
man. His niece was one of our nurses.
Oh, really?
And
How about that?
it was interesting the way
Yes.
those guys were. In fact, the one patient in our ward had his leg knocked off. And he'd always say, Lee, it was pretty well wrapped, you know, and he'd say, Lee, how about scratching my toes, So he still felt like had feelings in his toes.
Right.
But he had nothing left
Nothing
below his
the
knee.
Oh, goodness
And
sakes.
it was a good bunch of guys. They all took it well, and
Right.
were glad to do what we did.
Well, you've hit on something, Lee, that's very, very important, and that is the spirit of our armed forces.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there was something about the Yankee spirit, the American spirit, that was just indomitable.
Yeah, we had a job to do, and felt like, well, let's get it done and get home.
Right, I should say. Did you ever have any anticipation of staying out there and maybe having to go to Japan later
Oh
on?
yeah, I was anxious to go to Japan. When we were in camp there, the next stop for them was Manila. I think we were 75 miles from Manila, 75 miles up where I was. So where I got hit was 150 miles from Manila.
Right.
And everybody wanted to get to Manila to see, what it was and all that, and then hopefully get to Japan quick.
I should say. Well, where were you when you heard about the atomic bombs?
Oh,
Do you remember that? That was August of 45.
I was, well, yeah, I was taken, as I said, to the 51st General in Hollandia, and I was there for a short time, and I got what they call boarded. A bunch of doctors and that would survey each case,
Right.
and in my case, they determined that I should be sent home and discharged.
Oh, I see.
So
Well, tell 'em-
there was.
tell 'em what your injury was. You lost part of your bone, you had a weak.
Oh yeah, that's the reason it was so long. The fibula had about that much grown out of it,
Oh, my God.
and I don't know how it does it, but they said it would grow back together.
Uh-huh.
That's why I was hospitalized. Well, 7.5 months, including
7.5 months.
Convalescent.
Wow.
But I went from Hollandia, New Guinea. They put us on that's when EWO was hit.
Yes.
And
That's February of 45.
yes, and they needed all the hospital ships up there because
Sure.
the casualties was unbelievable up there.
Right.
And they converted an old ship to send us home on, and we got between the Christmas Islands and the Hawaiian Islands, and the propeller dropped off. So I don't know how they got it back on because I had this cast yet, but some way the Navy sent from Pearl Harbor, sent a couple of destroyers out to go around because we were like a duck on the pond.
Oh, yeah.
And they came out, and then some way they got another one on there, and a few days later, we're going under the Golden Gate
Back
Bridge.
underway.
Yeah, that.
So you went back to Pearl Harbor.
No, we didn't go to Pearl Harbor.
Oh, you didn't
No,
go?
they fixed it right while we were out at sea,
Oh, I see.
and how they did it, God only knows. But they did the job and sent us on our way again, and we got into San Francisco, and as we were coming into the harbor, war still going on, of course. A ship was going out with a load of troops on it,
Oh, God.
and all of our guys, one of my buddies had his arm knocked off with a Samari sword,
Oh, no.
and another one had what they call an airplane cast, where his arm's out like that, and we were on the side of the deck, and these guys were looking over at us like, "Oh God, what are we heading into?" But then when we docked, we were taken to Letterman General Hospital in San Francisco.
That was a great hospital.
It was very nice,
Boy, that was wonderful.
and It's still operating, I think.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I was there for, I guess 2 weeks or so. And then they put us on a hospital train. And I wound up in Memphis at Kennedy General Hospital.
Oh,
And that's where I was when the A-bomb dropped, and
I see.
where I was when the war ended.
sure.
And the
Praise
sad
the-
thing was that we had a naval air base down there by the name of Millington. And when VE Day came, why they restricted all the patients in the hospital at Kennedy General for 24 hours, that we weren't allowed to go out. When we knocked Japan off and the peace came, it was 36 hours we couldn't go out.
For heaven-
Because they didn't figure we'd be able to act like civilians, you know. So all the guys from the Navy who had never been on water, they were down enjoying themselves.
How about that?
But it was good.
Right. What rank did you reach?
I was only in a few months when I got hit. I was only a PFC.
I see.
That's as far as I got.
Well, Lee, that was a terrible experience for you, and we're certainly, along with you and your family, so grateful that you survived. Have you suffered any feelings in your leg?
Oh yeah, I have an exposed nerve down here on the side of my leg. I don't know how much you can see, but
Well, that's enough.
you,
Sure.
there isn't much now.
Uh-huh.
But this was all the way up here when I got.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my gosh,
And-
I should say. Well, that's terrible. Well,
So it. What'd you say?
I can't say it.
That's my my life.
absolutely. God bless her. God bless Mary.
You got your mother's telegram.
Well, what? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
tell
this
us
is the
about
thing
your
that,
mother's telegram.
that
Okay. All right, here's what it says. And to Mrs. Angela Meyers, the Secretary of War desires me to express his deep regret that your son, PFC Meyers, LeRoy J., was slightly wounded on Luzon on February 1945, 12th of February 1945. You'll be advised as further details are received from the Adjutant General. Well, I imagine your mother went, oh my goodness,
Oh,
what
she-
in the world happened to him?
yeah, she. There's a fellow that was with me when I got hit, Virgil Strickland.
Oh, there's Strickland.
Yeah, he's gone now,
Uh-huh.
but quite a guy. He,
Well, you two certainly had a wonderful relationship. And so what did your, when you finally got back, what did your mother have to say about it all?
well, you know, they kind of delayed giving me convalescent leave. We were supposed to get 30 days as soon as we got back to the States.
Sure.
And they kept delaying that, saying that I had to have my cash changed and taken off before I could go home, which is understandable. But that was at Letterman, and they said, well, wait till you get to the next hospital and you go from there.
Oh.
Well, I got to the next hospital and they delayed it again. And finally I got to go home, and I come in on a train, and my whole family was down there. My mom, my dad,
Oh.
my sister's brother-in-law, and my dad swore that I had lost my leg. He wouldn't have it any other way.
Is that
And
so?
I was coming up, I think I had a cane then. I come in on a cane. And I was coming up the ramp, and I could see him down there looking like this, you know. Right before I came up, they come down with a wheelchair. Well, I didn't need it. I said, I'm not going to go in a wheelchair. I'm going to walk up, so
Right.
make them. So I finally got up, and he looked at me like that. He looked to see if I had them all. So,
You didn't lose it after all.
yeah, you see
So
that I
you-
was on all twos.
So you came into Union Terminal here
Yes, I
in
did.
Cincinnati?
Yes, yes.
That great historical place?
It
Wow.
was a good feeling.
Oh, my goodness. And to have all your family there, and they were so
Yeah.
happy to see you. And, well, then, how long were you in after that, after you got home? How long before you were discharged or separated?
I got home in May. It was around Decoration Day. That was the end of May. And I was only home about 3 days. And I caught malaria, yeah, when I was home here.
Oh, my
And
God.
we called the Dr. Camp that lived near us in Cheviot there. His backyard and ours kind of were side by side. And he came over and he says, truthfully, I don't know what he's got, but I feel like it's something he brought home from the islands.
Yeah.
And I'd suggest he goes to Fort Thomas. So they took me to Fort Thomas, and boy, it went right on up, you know, the fever. And it went to about 105.
Oh, my goodness.
And they kept me there for about 3 or 4 days. And I did get those extended to my leave.
Right, right.
But then I went back and was there until, the war. As I said, I was there when both wars ended. And then I was sent to Wakeman Convalescent Hospital at Camp Atterbury. And that was in about August.
Now, that's Massachusetts?
No, Camp Atterbury out
Oh,
in
Indiana.
Indiana.
That's right.
And then I was there until September the 30th when I got discharged. And that was, I could come home on weekends and all that, which
Sure.
was good.
Right, right.
But my treatment and everything else, I can't, say enough nice things about it.
Great, great. Yes, we were very, very fortunate, and we had such wonderful medical support
yeah.
and everything. Well, as you reflect back on things, Lee, what stands out in your memory besides your wounding, of course, which was terrible, but was there anything else that comes to mind?
No, a lot of amusing things.
Yeah, tell us some of those. We'd like to hear those.
We had a guy that was in the ward with me down at Kennedy General, and he had been in the Aleutians
Oh, yeah.
and got hit. And they assigned him to the staff down there at the hospital, but he was a patient while I was there. And for the lack of something to do, he plucked every whisker out of his face.
Oh, my.
You can look over there and continually he was plucking the whiskers out of his face.
What a strange thing to do.
For about a week, his face felt like a baby's butt. But after that, I'd come on back
Of course.
again. Yeah.
That never stops.
And we had another case down there. When you walked out of our ward in the back, there was like a service street.
Uh-huh.
And it led down to the PX and the service club and all that. So we'd go out that way and get on there on crutches and whatever. So we had a guy, as I said before, we couldn't get our leave that we were supposed to get. And we had a guy by the name of Askew. He was a first sergeant. And he was complaining about not getting his leave. Finally, it came up, and he took off, and we all bid him well. He lived in Detroit, and he was gone, I guess, about a day, and a couple other fellows and myself were heading down this service street. I was on crutches, and this first sergeant Askew, I hear somebody hollering, "Hey, Lee!" And I looked around this way, and I couldn't see anybody, and going, "Hey, Lee!" And I looked around, and looked around this way, and he said, "Damn it, look the other way." Well, the other way was at the Section 8 area over there, behind the fence and all that.
Huh?
There's the SQ behind the fence. So we all went back. I said, "What are you doing in there?" And he said, "Well, you know, we couldn't get our leaves." And he says, "I was fed up with all the details." And he says, "I got down to the train terminal," and he said, "Some chicken second lieutenant made me come up with my," and I didn't like the way he said it, so I hit him. Mistake. And he says, "They think I'm nuts." They only kept him there for a while, and I don't know what he wound up getting as far as the penalty goes, but that was one thing. And then, well, when I was on this Watsaprig,
The supply ship, yeah.
no, it's the mothership for the
For the
PTs.
PT boats, yeah, right.
why, there was a guy by the name of Buckbinder. He was a real good bowler before the war and all that. He was on, I don't know what his job was on the Watsaprig, but he had fallen down steps, or what do you call them?
Ladder,
Huh?
the ladder,
Ladder, yeah.
Yeah.
He fell down and hurt his leg. Well, by this time, my CO, Captain Hughes, had come over, and he brought some packages and all that had piled up while I was gone. One of which had salami, jar of herring, jar of Limburger cheese, and all that. So we had a feast there in our little ward, you know.
Wow.
And the next day, he winds up with the most beautiful case of hives that you ever seen in your lives. And they didn't know if it was from the Limburger cheese, the salami, or from the
the sausage.
the medication.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Insulin. I want to say insulin.
No, I know it, I can't.
Penicillin.
Penicillin.
They didn't know if it was from that or from all this junk that he had eaten.
Right.
So after a day or two, they found out that it was from the penicillin.
I'll be darned. Well, that is, you know, there's so many stories you could tell. I know. I wish we had more time, but we're running short now. But I just wanted to touch base to tell you, of course, how much your service was appreciated and how much what you went through. And I know that the POW chapter here in Cincinnati is a very strong brotherhood as well, and I know several members of that chapter. Well, there's more than one chapter here, isn't there?
No what?
More than one chapter of the POWs here?
Oh, I don't know about that. The Purple Heart only has two.
I meant Purple Heart. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Military Order of the Purple Heart.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
We have one out in Mount Healthy and one out in Cheviot, where I'm at.
I see. Okay.
And it's quite like we mentioned EWO before. We have, I'd say 50% of our members were on EWO.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I know quite a number of fellows out there, and I'm sure I know some of your buddies. Well, Lee, it's been a wonderful experience to have this opportunity to speak with you, and you speak so well and telling us about your amazing experience and your survival and all that sort of thing, for which we're very, very grateful, and for your great service to our country. And I hope that you continue on for many years. And remember to come to the Veterans Day program here at the Public Library on the 11th of November every year. We have a great, great ceremony.
One of our members is always active in that.
Yes, that's right.
Tommy Anderson.
Yes, oh, Tommy, I know Tommy very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Well, listen, thank you so much. God bless. And,
God bless you.
Well, we'll keep them going. That's it.